All right, so let's get into this Philly story. I mean, Pat, when I sent this to you, was it just not one of those things that you read and you're kind of shocked by it a little bit? For anybody who's not watching here, the headline is two teens were charged with murder in the police shooting that killed an 8-year-old girl at a high school football game. And yes, it is actually that absurd where you had there's two kids, Angelo AJ Ford and Hassan Strand, who were having a gunfight of some kind with each other, shooting at each other, and police then started shooting at them but didn't hit them and only hit an 8-year-old girl, killing her. But yet only the two teens are facing charges of murder. So how the hell does this happen?
You know, Kyle, this reminds me of there's a South Park episode, I think, where I think it's Butters is like holed up in a house and the police come to rescue him. And maybe it's like one of the first South Park episodes, maybe it was Cartman, but he leaves the house and the police show up to rescue him, but they just end up shooting and killing everyone. It's kind of like that. So, I mean, imagine that you're at a high school football game. There's two kids who start to have like a gun battle in the parking lot, and the police show up and start spraying the crowd. I mean, that's kind of what occurred here.
Which would be absolutely criminal on the part of the police. Leave it alone, there, Pat, and absolutely absurd. But at the same time, I think at least for me and you, as much as we cover this, not unsurprising police behavior. And not unsurprising if the police weren't then charged with the murder of the little girl that they killed. However, the part that was striking to me is that they then charged the kids in this case. So what happens there?
Well, I think it's completely garbage because what they say here is, and maybe this is speculation on the side of the Philadelphia Inquirer, but they say in charging the two teens with murder, prosecutors are relying on the legal concept of transferred intent. The idea that if a person intends to harm someone but inadvertently harms someone else instead, that is a crime, according to Roos. Oh, so maybe they're not speculating. Is Roos the district attorney in this one?
Yes.
Okay. So what I don't understand about this, and maybe this is my own ignorance, but from what I remember from law school, the concept of transferred intent is more akin to, let's say that, you know, I want to shoot Kyle in the head. So I try to shoot you with intent to shoot and kill you, but instead I miss and I hit a bystander in the crowd and kill that person. You could charge me with first degree intentional, premeditated murder, even though I intended to kill Kyle, but I killed someone in the crowd. So obviously you see the problem with this here is that they are charging the kids when the kids didn't kill anybody. The police did. So the distinguishing factor, at least as I see it here, is that you could only charge one of the kids with transferred intent homicide if the kids were the ones who killed this 8-year-old girl. But It's the act of a third party. So there's another legal concept, Kyle, you might have heard of this, called felony murder.
Right.
And felony murder occurs when you are in the commission of a dangerous felony and someone dies because of the felony. And that's what this appears to be for me. And I don't know if I
just
agree
for
with
people who don't know as much, this is like the getaway driver thing, right? You're the getaway driver for a bank robbery. A guy inside the bank kills the bank teller. You can then be charged with that homicide.
Right. Yeah, and I've seen it in a little bit more ridiculous.
Right, but I mean that's like the kind of cut line principle. So one thing I have that doesn't make sense to me here, Pat, too, is I forget which teen was which, but one of them opened up fire on the other, and then the other one fired back. Which I don't know, maybe he has a self-defense claim there, although it does seem like maybe there was a slight gap of time in there. But how is it that the police are charging both of them with murder? I don't know. That seems a little odd to me that they wouldn't have to pit the aggressor between the two at least.
Yeah, and I guess you would have to wait for that all to kind of play out here. I mean, maybe it was Maybe the argument is that it's mutual combat or something like that. Um, I'd only be speculating because I think this is Philadelphia or this is Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know Pennsylvania law.
Okay. Yeah, it just kind of seemed to me to like be another indication that this was like kind of a lazy harebrained thing to absolve the police of their guilt here. And so I guess Pat, you're district attorney and obviously you don't know all the Philadelphia laws and everything, but it does seem to you that the police should be the ones, whichever police officer, at least maybe not all of them, but at least whatever police officer fired the bullet that hit the girl should be the one taking the majority of the legal liability here. I mean, like, I guess, like, I could see, the kids should be charged with something. They were like firing guns at each other during a football game. I mean, that's a dangerous act in itself, but that doesn't make them guilty of this murder.
No, no, it doesn't. Maybe, I mean, maybe under felony murder, or you can make an argument. We already talked about this reckless endangerment.
Right.
Possibly they could charge them under Wisconsin law for reckless endangerment. But yeah, it all goes. It feels like something should happen to them, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, definitely because like this is like a popular in not popular I guess, but a place with quite a few people for this football game, and we didn't mention, but this little girl, they got a nice little picture of this girl here, was the one that was left dead. What's her name? Fanta Bitley. And this did happen in August, but the charges were just placed on them. I'm gonna really try to follow this one, Pat. And maybe we'll have you back on to talk about it once this trial actually takes place or something starts to happen. And I guess one thing that people would point out, and I see a lot with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, is they'll say, well, he wouldn't get this trial if he were black or something like that. And I'm not certain, but I did like look up I couldn't find actually pictures of the two who are alleged to be guilty of murder. Maybe because one's 16, I don't know if they would put that out even if it's a homicide charge. But this is to be like a predominantly black area. And so, I think there's a good chance that even though this seems to be more thin than the charges against Kyle Rittenhouse, based on the, possible level of access that they have to for quality of attorneys, if they just get some random, what are they called? Court appointed public defenders or something like that. But at the same time, like that doesn't make Kyle Rittenhouse guilty. So that, I think that's one problem people really have with that argument. But I do worry about that in like this case or something like that, these kids end up getting railroaded just because they don't have the support or any like kind of sympathy, at least in part because of their race.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
All right. Let's